So I've got some pages marked off for the next part of Hell Yeah. So let's continue on in our journey here. I honestly have forgotten who we're reading about. And I read this book recently, but just bear with me truly here. I'll jump back into it. Ah, yes, page 86. Kathy had just stepped out of the shower when she heard hard pounding on the back door. She hurriedly threw on a terry cloth bathrobe and headed in that direction. When she reached the living room, it sounded as though someone was trying to tear the door off the hinges. She peeked out the window to see Travis hugging his body and shivering. The first thing she did was check the electricity. It was on in her place, and the light was showing in the trailer window. She slung open the door, and he rushed inside. "Damn, Travis, don't you have any better sense than to run around in your bare feet in the cold?" she asked. "I'm buzzed, and I'm not thinking straight, and there's no water in my trailer. Can I use your bathroom?" She sighed. "You know where it is." He hurried down the hallway and shut the door with a bang. She sank down on the sofa and waited. In a few seconds, the potty flushed, the shower started, and stopped 10 seconds later. "Well, crap," his deep voice carried to the living room. Travis reappeared. "I forgot my pajamas. Got to run back out to the trailer and get 'em." She frowned. It's either that or knock on every door every time I have to take a leak all night," he said. "Then go get 'em and put your boots on. You're going to catch pneumonia in your bare feet." He gave her a thumbs up and took off, leaving the door wide open. At least that storm door shut. She went to the door and watched him gallop across the yard and into the trailer. A minute later he was jogging back with a bundle of clothing. He kicked off his boots at the door and frowned. "Crap, I forgot to bring socks." "You can borrow a pair of mine. I've got white tube socks that'll fit you," she said. "Thanks, Kathy." He grinned and hurried to the bathroom again. She couldn't leave him out there in the trailer. No running water, and she couldn't let him stay in the apartment. The rule said no men, and it served both Ruby and Daisy very well. She sighed and looked up at the ceiling. "Okay, Ruby, it looks like it's time for us to have a sit-down. This rule about no men in the apartment worked fine for you and Daisy, but neither of you had a neighbor living right across the backyard. So that rule, it has got to go. I can't let him freeze or live with no water either, so are you going to sit on my bedpost or haunt me?" No strange icy wind blew past her, and no apparition knocked the sugar bowl or the salt shakers from the table, so she decided Ruby was all right with that idea. Travis was singing the song about a honky tonk badonk-a-donk when she passed the bathroom door and on the way to her bedroom. She wondered what woman in the beer joint had brought that particular song to his mind that night, but she couldn't come up with a single one. She put on a pair of red flannel pajama bottoms and an oversized sweatshirt, brushed the back of her wet hair, picked up a set of sheets from the linen closet. When he came out of the bathroom, she had the sofa bed made up with an extra quilt folded across the bottom. He wore navy pajama bottoms and a gray long-sleeved thermal knit shirt. Water droplets hung on his hair like glasses. His glasses were fogged over. Her hands went clammy at the sight of him standing there like some kind of mythical god. Her breath caught in her chest when the fresh scent of the soap and shampoo wafted through the room. That's 86, 87. Here's 88 and 89. He stopped in his tracks and stared at the bed. "Why didn't you tell me it made out into a bed?" "You didn't ask." "Need some coffee to get that buzz out of your head?" "Do you have tea?" "Not green. Have some plain old tea bags. Want me to put one in a cup and microwave it?" she asked. "That would be wonderful, and thank you." She remembered that he liked sugar and cream, and added both. She gave him his tea and sat down in the rocking chair. When he sat on the end of the bed, their knees were practically touching, close enough that he wanted to wiggle slightly and feel the warmth of her leg next to his, but touching her could send him straight back out of the trailer to live without water, so he adjusted his position. "What happened to your water?" "Don't know, but I'll find out come morning. I hope the pipes aren't frozen. Amos will throw a shoe at some plumber if they've frozen and bust. Maybe I ought to check them out tonight. It hasn't been that cold. You can figure out the problem when morning comes," she said. They looked up at the same time. He moved forward a few inches to find her doing the same, and their lips met without any other parts of their bodies touching. That fiery embrace had them both panting before they finally broke away. She sat up straight in the rocker and sipped the coffee, which was cold compared to the fire in her lips, and seriously wondered if they shared a kiss or if she imagined it. "Damn," he said. "What?" she asked. "That was hot." So it really happened. She touched her mouth. Blazes didn't burn her hand. It was really quite cool. Yes, it was. And now I'm going to bed. Okay, and thanks for giving me a bed and bathroom. Okay, and thanks for giving... Okay, you are welcome. She set in her empty cup on the table. She shut her bedroom door, stretched out on her bed with a book that she'd been reading for more than a week. That was 88, 89. Here comes 90. My head still hurts. Travis was sitting in the middle of the sofa with a beer in his hand, a hair of the dog thing, he explained. I left money on the bar for it. Kathy looked fine in her tight jeans and black sweater, but Travis's head hurt too badly to even think about that honky tonk badonk-a-donk. I'll make coffee. Want tea? Kathy asked. And breakfast? Travis asked. Don't push your luck. I've got Pop-Tarts, and I could make cinnamon toast. Toast, please. The sound of the truck tires crunching on the parking lot right outside the door made her head start in that direction. She had opened the door before when Amos knocked. He held out a box of donuts. You got coffee? I got pastries. Come on in. Travis didn't have water last night, so he stayed on my sofa. Ruby and I had a talk, and I don't think she's going to practice any voodoo on me, she said. Donuts. Amos, you are a saint, Travis said. I'd say you had one too many last night if you're already drinking this morning. Amos sat down at the table and opened the box to reveal a dozen assorted donuts, long johns, and cinnamon rolls. On your way to the office? Kathy asked. He wore an expensive three-piece suit and a bright blue tie. Yes, I am. Got time to talk? What's on your mind? Kathy filled 3 cups and set them on the table. She picked up a cinnamon roll and dipped the edge in her coffee. Amos looked at Travis. You ask her? She looked up so fast her hand slipped and she dropped the roll in the coffee. She fished it out and hurriedly ate the part that was soggy. Ask me what? Travis shook his head. I wasn't so sure that you wanted me to. She wiped her mouth with a paper napkin and said, Please tell me that you aren't putting more trailers in. Amos shook his head. Nothing like that, but I was telling Merle about my problem and she told me that how you were doing her taxes, so I did some checking and was amazed at what I found. You want me to do your taxes? Kathy asked. I want more than that. The accountant I hired to work for Angel had a car wreck last night. She was supposed to be here come Monday morning to start running the office. Angel and Travis can't do that and keep up the rig work. She'll be out of commission at least 2 months, so this is a temporary job. I'll pay you big bucks. You name the price. I thought that maybe that was why Travis looked so down in the mouth tonight. I told him that if we didn't find a bookkeeper, he and Angel would have to trade days off and stay in the office. Kathy started shaking her head out before the part of the big bucks. Hell no. Start at noon and be off by 5. I wouldn't make you work mornings. It would be dangerous for the clients, Amos teased. Please, Travis begged. 90, 91, 92, 93. No. Kathy pulled an errant strand of blonde hair back into her ponytail and shook her head again. You can work in your jeans and t-shirt. I wouldn't even make you dress up. You can walk to work. No expenses on your part. Paycheck at the end of each week and $5,000 bonus when Maggie's able to come to work. I'll leave candy and cookies on the bar and ice cream in the freezer, Travis said. She hesitated before she spit out another no. I know you're a bartender, but I also know that you're an accountant with a college degree in business finance, Amos said. Why are you running a bar if you are a high-powered accountant? Travis asked. It's a long story, and I'm too busy to tell it tonight, she said. Don't make sense to me. Travis picked up a glazed donut. Please come work for us. I'll do anything to, and including cooking for you. Supper a couple times a week, breakfast every morning. What makes you think I can't cook? Pop-Tarts, he frowned. I can make my own food, thank you very much. What else have you got to tempt me with? She considered it as she finished off her roll and reached for a chocolate iced donut. It would never work. The fire she had for him wasn't going away until she poured enough water on it to extinguish the flames. There wasn't as much water in Palo Pinto County, and the flames would set her on fire if she had to be that close to him in the small trailer each and every day. But the whole idea is that he'll be in the field and you'll be in the trailer alone all afternoon doing paperwork. It's nothing more than what you did in Minna, and you know damn well that you missed that work. It's what you were educated to do. You can have the best of both worlds for a couple of months, is what she's thinking. Want some time to think about it, or is the answer a definite no, Amos asked. It's a definite maybe hell no, she said. Good enough. If you want the job, go to work tomorrow at noon. If you don't show, I'll be interviewing a temp applicant. Maybe I'll make Angel do the interviews for me. Amos brushed a bit of glaze from the lapel on his jacket. You think she and Garrett are getting serious? Kathy asked. Oh, yeah, she stayed at the farm last night, Travis said. So are you going to take the job? She shrugged. What kind of ice cream you got? Whatever kind you want. I'll make a trip to the store and stock up. Name your poison. Are you really civil by noon?" He wished he could take the words back as soon as he uttered them. "What difference would it make? You'll be in the field and with Angel, so I won't bite you," she said. Good grief. Had she just made her mind up to take the job? First she tossed out Ruby's rule, and now she's contemplating another job. Would the honky tonk be adultery? Was it a sin? Another rapping on the door turned their attention that way. She laid her donut on the napkin and eased around the sofa bed. When she opened the door, Angel walked in and headed for the kitchen table. "Food and coffee. Life is good," she said. "Help yourself," Kathy said. "Be careful, though. She bites in the morning," Travis said. 92, 93, 94, 95. "Looks like she was good enough to let you spend the night on her sofa for whatever reason," Angel said. "I'm only grumpy until my third cup of coffee, but I'm not that mean." Kathy was glad for Angel's diversion to give her time to think about Amos's proposition. Travis pushed back, a blonde hair tickling his eyebrow. "Amos says she gets rabies shot every year." Amos threw up his palms defensively. "Hey, I'm trying to get her to work for me. Don't drag me into a fight between you two." Kathy ignored him and looked at Angel. "What brings you out so early?" "To see if Amos talked to you into coming to work for us. I'm here to beg if you didn't say yes. Did I get here before she turned him down?" "Just barely," Travis said. Kathy shot him an evil look. "You sure about that rabies shot?" Travis asked Amos. "I told you to keep me out of this," Amos grinned. Kathy set a cup in front of Angel, and her small dining area was full with 4 people. If anyone else came knocking, they'd have to sit on the floor. Travis held up his cup for a refill before Kathy sat back down. "I was only teasing about that rabies shot, but she surely until she's had a pot or two of coffee. Just remember that. You'll get along fine." Angel frowned. "Stop teasing and tell me what she's going to work for us. I hate to be cooped up in that office as much as you do." Kathy was warming up to the offer so quickly that it made her head spin. "So?" Travis asked. "What?" She needed more time. She couldn't bring herself to take it at the moment, yet she didn't want to close the door to the possibility. "You going to take the job?" "Why should I?" "I hate being stuck in an office. It's like prison. I can't breathe. All I do is pace the floor and want out. I feel like a caged animal." Their eyes locked in the middle of the table. Sparks danced around the crowded room like pole dancers in a strip joint. He could see flashes of color bouncing off her dark blue eyes. She felt like she was standing in front of an open-faced heater. "Say something. Don't just stare at me like that," he said. Her face began to burn. "I'm thinking about it." "Hell, woman, spit out what's on your mind. You women are always beating around the bush. No wonder men don't understand you." He wanted to kiss her so bad that his lips hurt. To taste that sweetness again, to see if it was as good as it had been that night before. She whispered, "I am not a hard woman to understand. I just don't know if I want to take on a second job." Angel tapped Travis on the shoulder. "What's going on here? You two drawing a line in the dirt and spitting on your knuckles?" She looked from one to the other so quickly that her kinky ponytail flopped back and forth. Kathy stood up. "Give me time to think about it, okay?" Travis drew his eyebrows together in a single line and pressed his fingertips to his forehead. "Women! His sisters said they were from Venus and men were from Mars. Well, that wasn't so hard to understand, but he'd be willing to bet that the little girl babies were born on an ethereal being snatched their souls and took them to live on an all-female planet for 13 years. When their puberty, they slung them back to Earth, and men trying to understand them the impossible from that age on." Angel waved a hand between them to break the tension. "Both of us have to be cooped up in an office. Please come to work for us. We're both working on a tight deadline, and we're both needed at that rig. Believe me, you won't hardly see anyone in the office." "Give me tonight to think about it." "I'll think about it until then," she said. "Fair enough. Me and a bunch of the bikers are planning to come to the honky tonk tonight, so we'll talk then," Amos said. "Please," Angel whispered as she followed Amos out the door. Travis grabbed another donut, put it in his mouth, and started making the bed. "Get on out of here. I'll do that. You probably already are late for work," she said. "Thanks," Travis said around the pastry and darted out the door in his bare feet. That's 94, 95, and 96. Okay, I'm trying to see why I marked that here. Well, we're going to keep on reading. Page 96. The honky tonk was absolutely rocking an hour after they opened the honk that night, and the jukebox wasn't quiet 1 second. The dance floor always had at least a dozen people two-stepping or even more doing line dances. Page 97. Travis arrived at 10 o'clock and hiked a hip on the last remaining bar stool. "Hey, good looking, you from around these parts?" The girl next to him winked. "Just for a couple months. Where y'all from?" Travis asked. "We're at a family reunion in Mineral Wells and had to get away for a while," she said. "How'd you know about the honky tonk?" Kathy asked. "One of the cousins is down from Huckabee. He's been here before and said it's got the best dance floor around. Got a tray? I'll take them in 2 trips," she said. "Hey, Travis, you up for a game?" Merle asked. "No, my mind wouldn't be on it," he said honestly. Kathy worked at the other end of the bar, barely keeping up with the order. She wished Sally would show up and offer to draw beers while she mixed the drinks. Maybe she would offer the school teacher a job on Friday and Saturday nights. Yeah, can't you just see that? School teacher working as a bartender in the honky tonk. That would send her superintendent and half the Bible-toting parents of her students into a whirlwind. She caught up just in time to start over. The kids who had escaped the family reunion were ready for refills. The tall, red-haired girl who had ordered the first round showed up with empty trays. She wore her jeans slung low and her skin-tight knit top tight enough to show a belly-button ring, and was evidently the designated driver because she was not drinking. She believed them to table the 2-step through the broken road by Rascal Flats with Rudy. 96, 97, 98, and 99. Kathy was working on a picture of hurricanes when she looked up to see the girl at the bar again. "Be with you in a minute," she said. "I got to stay sober and drive these yahoos home tonight. Want some help? I'm 22, got my bartender's card, and would you rather be working than sitting?" she said. "You're hired," Kathy said. "I'd have helped if you asked me," Travis said. Kathy smiled. "Are you 22 and own a bartender's card?" "I'm more than 22, so that should make up for not having a card," he said. The girl efficiently filled the order for a martini, then went to work on a tequila sunrise. "I'm Mindy. I live over in Mineral Wells. Used to work at the Lazy Circle bar before it was shut down." "I'm Kathy, and the whining cowboy is Travis," she said. Travis narrowed his eyes. "I'm not whining." "I think he's cute," Mindy says. Travis grinned. "Thank you. Looks like that movie star, the blonde one. What's his name? He played the wedding planner, Matthew McConaughey. That's who he looks like." Travis grinned bigger. "Don't feed his ego," Kathy said. Mindy giggled and set up a clean blender to make a pina colada. "Want a job Friday, Saturday nights?" Kathy asked. "Not really. I'm usually out with my boyfriend those nights. He's off at a conference trip to Germany this weekend, so I'm out partying with my rowdy Oklahoma relatives. I work all week at a computer consultant firm." "I'll work for you on Friday and Saturdays if you take the job for Amos," Travis offered. "For free. I might not even be able to brew up whatever she's doing, but you can do that and I can brew the beer. See, the handles are even marked so I wouldn't make a mistake." "Deal," she said. "Are you serious?" "I'm very serious. You work for me those nights and I'll work for Amos. But remember," she looked up and almost lost her train of thought, "just remember that Amos is my boss." "I'll be your superior since it'll be my house you are working in," Travis argued. "And I will be your boss 2 nights a week and you will answer to me. Remember that if you get all cocky," she said, smiled again. "I'd dang sure hire him if I owned a bar. Lord, the women would flock in here to buy the drinks," Mindy whispered. "Then they'd start fighting over him," Kathy said out of the side of her mouth. "What kind of secrets are you 2 telling?" Travis raised his voice above Garth Brooks singing about beer for his horses. "We don't tell our secrets. It's a woman thing," Mindy answered. Travis yelled across the room at Amos, who claimed a table with his biker buddies. "She says yes." "Well, hallelujah. Make me a fancy martina and I'll definitely celebrate," Amos said. That was 98, 99, and here comes page 100. "What are you celebrating?" Mindy asked. "Kathy is going to work for me. I won't have to waste time doing interviews," Amos answered. "Then make me one too. That's the best news I've heard since—" "I can't remember when," Angel said from between Travis and Amos. "What are you going to do for them?" Mindy asked as she shook a martini. "Bookkeeping." "But you're a bartender," she said. "Yep, I am. I can answer the phone and take messages," Kathy said. "Don't let her fool you. She's got a resume the world would knock your socks off," Amos said. "I'd hire her full time if she'd take the job and put Maggie to work in Dallas office. She really didn't want to move anyway to Mingus." Kathy put up both hands defensively. "Oh, no. Only 2 months and then I'm finished." "We'll celebrate with a movie out at the trailer after closing time. I'll make popcorn," Travis said. "What movie?" she asked. "Your choice. I'll bring a box full of them with me to every new site. You can choose. Joint don't shut down until 2. "And you always watch a movie before you go to bed anyway," he said. She smiled. "Ice cream?" "Rocky Road and pecan prairie lanes and cream. My 2 favorite kinds. I'll be there." Moving forward, page 103. Did you know from the beginning that you were going to work for Amos and you just drug it out to see what you could get me to agree to do? He asked. Skeptical little fella, aren't you? She said when she swallowed. Tea or beer? He asked. Tea. He poured two tall glasses of tea and joined her on the comforter. You didn't answer me. I like what I do at the honky tonk. I love the place, the people, and my hours, but sometime I miss the oil business too. I had to think about the time involved. I decided I could manage, she said. So do I still have to work for you 2 nights a week? Damn straight you do, she said. Shh, I can't wait to see the pilot episode. At the end of the first 45-minute episode, she was yawning but determined to watch one more. While the credits rolled, she ran to the bathroom and hurried back to settle into the pillows. Travis picked up the remote and hit pause right when the music started. Why'd you do that? Because if you want ice cream, you'll have to move, he said. I love the banter between these two. Page 115. Larissa leaned in between Travis and the cowboy sitting next to him. Need some help? You look ragged. Run ragged. Kathy nodded. Ever done any bartending? I'll help, Travis offered. I'll take Larissa, Kathy said. Travis locked gazes with her. Why? Because I have to pay you with 5 days a week in the oil office to get you to help me on Friday and Saturday nights. I can't afford your price. She smiled. He winked. I might make a deal that didn't involve the oil office. Kathy blinked and looked away. A quick vision of how she'd pay him didn't do a thing to stop her breathlessness. The infatuation was about to drive her as crazy as a drunk toad frog. Larissa slapped Travis on the shoulder. Don't be flirting while she's busy, cowboy. How do I get back there? Do I have to crawl over the bar? She wore tight designer jeans and a red knit shirt with a cutout at the neckline. Big red hoop earrings showed when she tucked her hair behind her ears. Kathy pointed through the swinging door at the end of the bar. Larissa wasted no time taking a place behind the beer machine and drawing beers while Kathy took orders for mixed drinks. I'm hurt, Travis teased. Oh, hush and drink your beer. Go talk to Merle about a game of 8-ball, Kathy said. She's playing with Clark, Travis said. A fast song by Emmylou Harris cleared out the bar stools and put almost everyone in the beer joint on the dance floor for a line dance. The way they were moving reminded Travis of a can wiggling fishing worms, but he would gladly be out there on the floor with Kathy if she danced with him. He could only imagine her arms wrapped up around his neck and that cute little fanny moving seductively against him at the belt buckle level. Where'd they all come from? Travis asked. Who knows? Maybe they heard about the oil men, and I swear something put the word out there. They don't even seem to care about this is oldies night. I've never seen a night like this one, not even New Year's Eve, and that was a good one. I need 2 pitchers of pina coladas, a young woman shouted above Emmylou's voice. I love this music. It's what my mama used to play the whole time I was growing up. You play this all the time? Only on Mondays. Kathy filled the orders and set them on the tray with empty jars for the women. What's on the other nights? The new stuff, Larissa answered, but it's just as good. Come on back tomorrow and see what you like best. You can bet on it. Where y'all from? Larissa asked. My group is from Fort Worth, she said. We've been to everything over there, and besides we got the friend named Mindy who said that this place was real neat, and she was right. That was 115, 116, and here comes 117. Don Williams' voice said that he wouldn't want to live if she didn't love him. Have someone in your life that you would die for? Larissa asked. Nope, Kathy said. Where'd you learn to be bartend? Please tell me one more time that you aren't here to try to buy this place for Hayes Radnor. Larissa filled 6 quarts and set them on the tray, collected the money, and made change. One more time, and that's it. I'm not here to buy your beer joint. I moved to Mingus because I wanted to live here. And you changing the subject. Anyone that can pull a lever and fill up a fruit jar with beer. How old are you, Kathy? 28. Kathy started 2 more blenders of pina coladas. And you never loved anyone enough that you wouldn't want to live without them? Ain't no one in this world that I would want to die for, Kathy answered. Looks like we've got something in common. I've got 2 years on your age, but neither one of us have been led down that daisy path, have we? I didn't say that. The daisy path and I are very well acquainted. That's why I wouldn't die for a man. Basically, they're all alike, aren't they? Ever hear that old saying about burn me once, shame on you, burn me twice, shame on me? Well, that's the story of my life. I ain't living a shame on me life. Larissa kept filling the jars, icing down the beers in the buckets, and making change. Someday we'll have to discuss that when we can sit down and not yell over music and people. 115, 116, and here's 116, 117, here's 118. The tables and the stools cleared out again when Kenny Rogers started singing about knowing when to hold 'em and knowing when to fold 'em and knowing when to walk away or knowing when to run. Sorry. The 4 lines of people covered the dance floor, and a line yelling, "Fold 'em" with Kenny every time he said the words. "That's my new favorite song," Larissa said. "How come? I'm learning that folding isn't such a bad thing. I'm beginning to think that I was a winner when I thought I was the biggest loser in the whole wide world. We'll talk about that later, too," she said. "What makes you think we'll be friends and talk about anything other than the beer and the pina coladas?" "Hey, you want to dance?" Travis yelled the minute the song ended. The second he hollered, a rare moment of silence filled the joint. His voice echoed in the stillness, and everyone looked at him. "Which one of us you talking to, cowboy?" A girl laced up the front white blouse that dropped off her shoulders, and an elasticized neckline sidled up to him and laid her hand on his thigh. "The bartender," Travis blushed. "Are you talking to me?" "No, thank you. I'd lose my job," Larissa laughed. Someone plugged more quarters into the machine, and Marty Robbins began singing about his wife. Dancers were stuck to each other, moving slowly on the packed floor. Travis was jealous. That's the way he'd like to be hugged up to Kathy, not sitting across the bar from her with no possibility of anything but their hands touching. Kathy stopped in front of him to replenish the pretzel bowl. "Thanks for asking me to dance, but I don't dance with customers or while I'm working. And even if I did, it's too dang busy for me to leave the bar, even for one song. But thanks anyway." He reached for a handful of pretzels just to touch her fingertips. The hot vibes between them created something skin to a kid's sparkler on the 4th of July. Larissa touched Kathy on the arm. "What would it take to make that song your favorite song?" Kathy pulled her hand back from the bowl. "My song is Gretchen Wilson's Redneck Woman. You're just now discovering country music, and you think every one of them is written just for you, don't you?" "Hell yeah," Larissa smiled. "You're getting into this, aren't you?" Kathy asked. "Been listening to country music all day while I cleaned up my yard. The storm shook every loose leaf from my tree, and I've got enough of a pile to make a bonfire for a wiener roast. Listen to that song. What would it take to make you someone's woman?" Kathy listened to the familiar words. "Guess he'd have to be willing to give me his share of heaven," she said. "Well said, sister," Larissa said. Travis was figuring out how a person made a deal to give up their share of heaven, and when Angel tapped him on the shoulder, he almost dumped his beer in his lap. She giggled. "I didn't mean to cause a disaster, darling. Come dance with me until Garrett gets here. Oh, there he is. You're off the hook." 118, 119, 120. Angel grabbed Garrett in the middle of the fast Jerry Lee Lewis tune, and they danced for not far from where Tinker had set up post. Garrett ran tips of his fingers down his sides and moved seductively against him. Kathy wished for a long breath of fresh air, cold winter air. The blend was shaving lotion, perfume, smoke, and liquor mixed together was enough to singe a billy goat's nose hairs. And while watching Angel and Garrett, with their glazed eyes only for each other as they danced like they were the only 2 people in the whole honky tonk, didn't do a thing for the heat inside her body. She looked over at Travis to find him mouthing the words, "To hello, darling," with Conway Twitty. Travis's blue eyes met hers over the bar when he sang about letting him kiss her and hold her in his arms one more time. She forgot about the fancied-up bodies in the place and cigarette smoke hanging in the air and even Angel and Garrett. All she thought about was his kisses. She had to hold both her hands behind her to keep them from her mouth to see if it was as hot as it felt. "I need 2 pitchers of hurricanes, a single tequila sunrise," Larissa hollered from the other end of the bar. Kathy blinked her way back from the imagination of kissing to bartending. She glanced back towards Travis. He smiled and held up his beer in a toast. Barbara Mandrell was next on the Barbara Mandrell was the next jukebox star to sing. Another line formed with both men and women participating. Rocky was pretty damn agile, and that didn't surprise Kathy, but Bart did. She figured he'd be clumsy, but he knew exactly where to kick back 2 steps forward and kick forward. Twist and turn those 3 times before starting again. He never missed a beat. Looked like a ballerina the whole time he danced. Waylon Jennings sang Lukenbach, Texas next, and kept that line dancers on the floor. Travis meandered over to the pool tables to talk to Garrett while Angel and Merle set up a game. "If we could change that to Mingus, Texas instead of Lukenbach, it would describe me," Larissa said. "You never have been to a bar before you walked in this honky-tonk, had you?" Kathy wiped trays and stacked them up to the next run. "Not like this. Went to my share of nightclubs in New York City, Dallas, Houston, been to Vegas, but not a honky-tonk. Did it show that much?" "Yep, it did." "That's another long story," Larissa said. "This is your first experience with country music, too." Larissa nodded. "And my first time to drink beer and two-step." "Mercy sakes, you ain't been living. You just been existing," Kathy laughed. Travis listened to Garrett talk about Angel, but his eyes never left the bar. Kathy was beautiful when she smiled. Bits of her laughter floated across the smoke-filled room to fill his ears. Sounded like harp music or maybe tinkling of Floyd Kramer piano. What had Larissa said that had brought it on anyway? Larissa poured peanuts into the bowls on the bar. "You were right about living and existing, but I'm learning my way around this kind of life." 120, 121, and 123. Tanya Tucker was singing a song that asked if he would lay with her in a field of stone. "Every single one of those songs have a meaning," Larissa said. "Lord, I love this music. Why wasn't I listening to it my whole life?" "Would you?" Travis' eyes locked with Kathy's. "Would I what?" "Listen to the words. Would you do that?" "I'm too damn busy to listen to the words of every song that plays on that jukebox. They're just songs, Travis. I don't look for hidden meanings in them. Go shoot some pool with Merle. She looks lonesome," Kathy lied. Her pulse quickened and her mouth went so dry she wished she didn't have a rule about not drinking while she was working. A shot of Jack to steady her hands would be even very nice if it didn't burn the hell out of her ulcer. Travis didn't believe her. She was listening to the words. If he hadn't answered that question, he would have said yes, that he would lay with her in a field at the base of a mountain, or even in the sands desert with no water for miles and miles. Larissa set 2 beers in front of him. "I would lay with you in a field of stone, darling. But something tells me you done got your eyes on someone else to fill that position." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" "Don't play dumb with me, and I won't tell her," Larissa said. "You got a deal." He carefully toted the beers across the room to the pool tables where Garrett and Angel took a long time to drink. They picked up their cue sticks. Larissa filled 2 buckets and set up a dozen beers on the 2 trays before she got a break. She touched Kathy on the arm and asked, "You got a thing for that cowboy, don't you?" "Afraid so, but I will get over it," Kathy said. "Good luck," Larissa said. "Hey, could we get some beers down here? I need a bucket of Coors." A cowboy slid onto Travis's vacated bar stool. Larissa set up a bucket. "You betcha." "You're a quick study," Kathy told Larissa as she worked up the 3 pitchers of margaritas. "That's what they say," Larissa said. "And who would they be?" "A story for a day that when we're not working our tails off, not complaining. This is more fun than I've had in years," Larissa said. George Strait's voice filled the joint with his song about pure love. Kathy looked across a sea of dancing and drinking people at Travis, who raised his glass when Strait sang about it being pure love, milk and honey, and Captain Crunch and her in the morning. Correction. It shouldn't be George Strait. That should be Ronnie Millsap. That's 123, and here comes 124. She remembered giving him the toaster pastry with a cup of coffee. Pop-Tart coffee and arguments were not so sexy, so why was he remembering that it was? "Who was that man singing? God, I love this song. It's just moved up in the charts to be #1 in my book," Larissa said. "That is Ronnie Millsap. Every song that played tonight has been your new favorite," Kathy said. "Wait a minute. Who's this? Wow," Larissa asked. "That's Don Gibson." Kathy made the mistake of looking over at Travis when Don sang about his sensuous woman. Travis raised his jar again and winked. She inhaled deeply and pretended she didn't see the wink, but she put a pitcher of Coors in 6-pint jars on a tray for one of the girls dressed in a black leather corset-type top, laced with both the front and back. It wasn't easy to keep her eyes off him when her work the next few minutes. She wanted to look back and see if he'd wink again, but she wouldn't let herself get drawn into a flirting game while she was working. "This is one jumping place. Love the old music. It's like this every night," the girl was asking, but Kathy couldn't remember what she was supposed to be saying or doing. "Just Mondays," Larissa answered. "The rest of the week it's just as jumping, but it's the new country music, or no rock or alternative even here, just pure country like George just sang." Kathy could have just hugged Larissa if she'd had to speak, or burned down the honky tonk after Travis's wink. Tinker would have had to strike that match and watch her cry as the old place burned to nothing but a pile of ashes. "My crew will be back another night. We love to line dance and two-step." "Where y'all from?" "Breckenridge." "Well, come on back down here. We'll be right here." Larissa gave her change in quarters and 3 for a quarter night. She pocketed the change. "I done put $1 in. My songs aren't up yet." "Sorry about butting in, but you looked a little pale. What happened?" Larissa asked Kathy. "Nothing," Kathy said. "Honey, only that thing that makes a woman lose her ability to talk is a man. Either they make her so mad that she can't speak, or else they do something that makes her think of the bedroom, and she can't say that word because that her mind is in the gutter. You are so right. 124, 125, 126. Charlie Rich started singing about his baby making him proud by never hanging all over him when he's in a crowd. But when they got behind closed doors, she made him so glad that he was a man. Kathy didn't dare look at Travis for fear he'd wink or blow her a kiss. Several months before, Daisy had complained that every blessed song on that jukebox reminded her of Jared. During that time, Kathy thought she was out of her mind, in love, or headed for the insane asylum, one or the other. That night, Kathy knew exactly what she'd been talking about. Everything a country music artist sang seemed like a Cupid's arrow was pointed straight at her heart. She found herself hoping that Travis would be in the oil field the rest of the week. That way there would be no excuse to get tangled up with him in the kitchen and wind up in a setting on a wildfire in Palo Pinto County. Hopefully the songs on the new jukebox wouldn't make her want to fall backward on a big soft bed and drag that cowboy on top of her. At midnight, Travis set his empty jar on the bar and waved Kathy before he weaved through the people and went home to his trailer. The Fort Worth girls whooped and hollered through one more line dance, then disappeared past Tinker in a flurry of giggles. By 1 o'clock, things had slowed down enough that Larissa asked Kathy to make her a martini. She carried it to the other side of the bar. That was fun. Can I do it again? I made $100 in tips. Don't know how I would have handled it without you. Thanks for helping. Hey, want to shoot some 8-ball when the doors would shut? Larissa asked. Not tonight. Any good? Kathy asked. Fair. Been trying to get up enough nerve to ask Merle to play, Larissa said. Where'd you learn? Larissa shrugged. London. There was this Earl who liked his billiards. Are you serious? He has a heart attack, and he was fine looking, especially behind closed doors. We played a few times in the nude. Hey, you ever hear that new song called Skinny Dippin'? I'm going to try that when the summer gets here. By then I'll have my own good-looking cowboy to do that with. Yes, I've heard it, Kathy said. She didn't say that she already imagined doing that with Travis Henry. Tell me, how did you go from an Earl to Mingus, Texas? I have trouble staying one place with one thing, or with one man very long. I get bored easily. Going to get bored with a honky tonk and Mingus in a few weeks? Larissa sipped the martini. Best martini I've ever had, and that includes all of them. And I don't know if I'll get bored in Mingus or not. If I do, I'll be here 3 days past the boredom day. 3 days? Larissa's eyes glittered. Yes, it'll take me that long to get in a moving van and call Hayes Radnor to sell my house to him. You wouldn't. 126, 127. And moving to 129. The Kindles finished up the night with a song that had said, Heaven's just a sin away, whoa, whoa, just a sin away. The singer said that way down deep she knew that it was all wrong, but his eyes kept tempting her. You got that right, Kathy said. She wouldn't even have to get out the car out of the garage to find sin. That the way Travis held up his drink and winked at her said that he'd be more than willing to help the devil take her to heaven any night of the week. All she had to do was walk across the backyard, knock on the door, and kiss him. Heaven would be waiting in his arms. Only trouble was, come morning it would be hell to pay, and she wasn't willing for another broken heart. And that's the end of tonight's reading of Hell Yeah. So tomorrow, come back. We'll do some more Hell Yeah.